What's up, gang? This is the X-Teen Featurette channel. I'm Chris. I'm in front of the old abandoned creek today, sitting in the dirt in my yard. Got the mallard right here, if you can see me in the background. I have watched some stuff, and it's been a while since I posted because I just cannot find like the energy to stay inside the house right now. It's just too nice. I worked on my garden over there, trying to grow some food and just get outside and get some vitamin D from the sun. So here we go. I have been watching stuff though. Haven't posted anything, but I watched, Kino Lorber sent these to me for review, some Charles Bronson, Jill Ireland flicks. I am so happy to have more of their movies, and these were amazing. So we have Violent City and Breakout. Like I said, Charles and his wife were in these, and every single movie I've seen with that duo together has just been amazing. So really excited to talk about these. Thanks so much to Kino Lorber for sending these to me for review. So I'm just gonna get down on it. If you hear any creatures or humans or whatever in the background, I do live in a city, so, you know, ignore that. I don't know how this is gonna sound because I've never actually filmed outside before, but whatever. Violent City, this is a 1970 flick, and this had a couple different names. Cito Violenta, maybe, or it's also called The Family. So this is directed by Sergio Solima, I believe. I don't know, I don't speak Italian, I can't say it that well. This is this movie was a French-Italian production. What's really, really interesting about this, and one of my favorite things in film, are really unique filming locations. So this was filmed, actually the first 10 minutes of this movie, I'd say like the first solid 10 minutes is a car chase sequence. It opens up and it kind of gives you a little bit of background. Charles Bronson's character is Jeff Heston, and he was a former assassin, and whoever he worked for before is trying to hire him back to do some more killing for him, and he is just retired. He's like, I'm done with that, I just want to enjoy my life, whatever. It opens with a car chase through these very narrow streets, and at first I thought that those streets were Italy. It turns out that those streets were actually the US Virgin Islands, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, the streets there, through this car chase. That entire chase sequence, it's just him and Jill Ireland. She plays Vanessa. She's sitting in the passenger seat, and there's no dialogue throughout the entire sequence, and the music was just amazing. I don't recall who did the music on this, but it was really good. So the whole score was awesome to this movie. So there was the US Virgin Islands, and then the other big filming location was the French Quarter of New Orleans. So that was really cool. I always love seeing New Orleans in movies. I don't think it had any scenes with like the really cool cemeteries that they have there, but you know, they did have like there was a foot chase through the French Quarter, so there was that. And then the stuff that was filmed in studios, which wasn't too much of it, I would assume. I think that a lot of it was filmed in New Orleans, but the studio stuff was filmed in Rome. So most of it was in the United States, which is really interesting. I popped in one of these discs. It's a 2-disc set. Let me just show you that. So we have this beautiful slip, and whenever you open it, the 2 discs, there are Violent City and Cito Violenta, The Family. I don't know which one I put in first, honestly, but I turned it on and there was no language options, and it was just Italian. And I was like, okay, I'm not afraid of, you know, subtitles by any means, but I thought that it was really strange since it looks like it should be I don't know, it looks like it should be in English, considering, like, you know, the titles in English and stuff, but it wasn't. And then I popped in the other disc after I watched it the first time, and it started out in English, and I'm like, okay, so it's probably like the different cuts, because one of the cuts is different. But the one that's in English had entire scenes that were in Italian. So I'm assuming that they filmed it in English, and then, you know, whenever they released it in Italy, the Italian cut was probably longer than the one in English. So it's like the English to the extra scenes that were not in the English cut. Those are probably lost, I assume. They didn't make it into this anyway, so I kind of looked for some information on that and didn't find much, so if you guys have any more insight to what is going on with that, let me know. But yeah, it was just like one disc is 100% Italian. That was the longer cut, and so one's 109 minutes, so Violent City is 109 minutes, and then The Family, which it says that the production year is 1973, that's 96 minutes, so that's the one that starts off in English, and then there's a couple like notable scenes that are in Italian. So it kind of like went from English to Italian like in the movie. It was very, I was caught off guard. I'm like, what is happening here? So that was interesting, but I was just glad to have it. There's some squirrels running above my head right now. I mentioned the car chase with Jeff and Vanessa with him, and when it got to the end of that chase, he dropped her off so as to make it seem like she wasn't with him, so that she was like not, you know, mixed up in all of the stuff that he was in, whatever it happens to be, because we don't know at that point. So Jeff gets shot and she leaves. She makes off with the leader of the gang of the people that shot him. So, and then Jeff ends up in jail for some time because everybody that was on the other side like kind of made off, and he was left there for dead. They left him for dead. And apparently he didn't die. He had to spend some time in prison because of this whole shootout thing that happened to be in the middle of a city. We learn later that the person that she left with was his former business associate, Coogan, and she happened to have a little relationship with him in the past. So that was very interesting. While Jeff is in jail for the shooting, he's visited by this lawyer that says like, oh, you're my favorite client, you were my first client, blah, blah, blah. And he's working for Coogan. And he's trying to convince him to come work for him. And he's like, you know, I'm not going to do that. So it's really, all the parties that are in this, it's really weird how they're related. When Jeff is freed from jail, he goes to New Orleans to hunt down Coogan. He finds him with the help of some really weird character that happens to be addicted to heroin. He's like, that scene was interesting, seeing this dude buy heroin off of this guy in the street. That was very memorable. I won't spoil it for you because it had like a really cool twist to it, but that whole character was very strange. Jeff finds Coogan there. He is at some race, racing cars. There are a lot of spectators there, but you know, since Jeff was an assassin, he isn't really worried about it. He snipes him off of some hill. He like shoots the tire, the car spins out, and he dies in a car wreck. So after that, he's trying to go on some vacation with Vanessa, and as he's at the airport, these people that are working at the airport are like, oh, here, by the way, here's this envelope. And it's pictures of him as he's sniping Coogan's car. So it's like somebody saw him, like what do these people know? So the people that gave him the pictures were by this guy named Weber. So Weber is the leader of this family, this crime thing that they're trying to recruit him into. And we come to find out that Vanessa happens to be Weber's current wife. So while he was in jail, Vanessa married this crime boss. And her whole thing is wanting to be with guys that make her feel protected. Like, she feels safe with Jeff, but she also mentions, like, whenever I'm around you, bad stuff happens. So, you know, Jeff might be trouble. But then she meets Weber, and he's, like, the leader of this mob. And it's like, how could Jeff be more trouble than this guy? So, you know, she's just living this life of luxury with him. It was kind of wild. Even though Vanessa and Weber were married, like, he told Jeff, like, oh yeah, I know that she does stuff with other guys. So Jeff and Vanessa went on this like weekend sexcapade, and it was very weird, and it gets very tense. I won't say anything else about this story. Just know that there's a lot of really interesting characters in it. There's a lot of red herrings in this movie. It's the characters are interesting. It's just like, whenever you think you understand what their purpose is in the story, it's like you question everything at the end. So yeah, there's a lot of red herrings, there's a lot of deception, there's a lot of betrayal. Honestly, in this movie, you see like the worst of everybody. There are no characters that are like, that you're like really rooting for because they're good people. I mean, maybe Jeff, but he's just an assassin. I guess you're supposed to be rooting for Jeff because he's trying to drop out of that life and everybody else is trying to suck him back into it. But it's just like, everyone's bad. Everyone shows the worst side of them possible, so that's what we get in this movie. Now that I mention it, Jeff was not likable either because he was very abusive towards Vanessa on their weekend sexcapade. He pretty much brutalized her, actually. It was pretty messed up. So yeah, there's just no good people in this, so don't expect that. But you can see some naked Jill Ireland. She's not fully nude, but you get to see some nip. So, you know, Charles Bronson kind of manhandles her a bit. That was pretty exciting. What was interesting between Jeff and Vanessa was you could tell that she loved him to some degree, but there were so many times that he just didn't have any problem roughing her up. He could just hurt her and she was totally cool with it. She seemed frightened of him, but she still trusted him more than anybody, it seemed. So like I said, that is all that I'll mention about Violent City because I don't want to spoil it. I highly suggest it. The music was fantastic. The filming locations were great. This release looked good, and just interesting story, interesting characters. It was easy to follow. Like, it wasn't, you know, a lot of times stories with a lot of deception and red herrings are very confusing, and that wasn't the case for this at all. You could just enjoy it and watch it. So I highly suggest it. Next up, we have Breakout with Robert Duvall joins Charles Bronson and Jill Ireland. We also, I was surprised, we have a young Randy Quaid in this, and that was very exciting. This is a 1975 flick directed by Tom Grise, and honestly, it was so much fun. I very much enjoyed it. So the story is we have a rich guy named Wagner. He has a grandson named Jay Wagner. Jay Wagner is the one played by Robert Duvall. So basically, he sets up his grandson, and I wasn't really clear as to why. So if you know, let me know in the comments. He was trying to frame his grandson for a crime so that he could get put in prison. And I'm not really sure why it was. I don't know if it was explained and I just missed it somehow. I mean, I did pay attention, but it was something that was like over my head. So he got thrown in a Mexican prison, but he was innocent because he was framed by his grandfather. Jay's wife, Anne, is played by Jill Ireland. She asks around everywhere. She's trying to find somebody to help her husband. She knows that she can't do it the legal way. So she is referred to a guy named Nick Colton, who was played by Charles Bronson. He is a bush pilot in Brownsville, Texas. Whenever I hear that name, I just think of like a very scary border town, which is, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So I would not want to go there personally. So Charles Bronson, Nick Colton's partner, was Hawk, and he's the one played by Randy Quaid. So Anne goes up to Nick Colton and says, somebody told me that you would do anything for money. And he's like, yeah, that's true. So she offers him $50,000 to break her husband out of Mexican prison. There's conjugal visits allowed at this prison, and the first breakout attempt involved Randy Quaid cross-dressing as an extremely ugly woman, and he went in to go see Jay. The plan was he was going to sneak in and give Jay clothes so that he could also cross-dress, and they could both sneak out as women in the group of ladies that go for the conjugal visits. But they realized that it wasn't a woman. I don't know how. So Randy Quaid got beat pretty badly. The second attempt involved Colton tried to hire a helicopter pilot to land in the prison and just lift Jay out because they wouldn't know what hit him. The helicopter pilot, once he was told where they're going to be landing, was like, okay, I'm out. I'll train you how to do it, bush pilot, but I'm not going to do it. Nick Colton had no idea how to fly a helicopter, so that was pretty comical in and of itself. And he was supposed to land it in the prison yard and make off with Jay, and that would be it. Again, to not spoil the end, I'm going to stop there, but this was very amusing. This is, you know, Charles Bronson was still badass in this movie, but he was not as, like, stone cold as he usually is. He was non-violent, and his character was more cunning, and as a result, it was a lot more comedic. Definitely one of his funnier movies, so it was a lot of fun. Randy Quaid being in there was just silly. There was a character that was, I think, a judge or a sheriff or something, and his wife. They were funny. Just everyone in this was really amusing, and the schemes they came up with were really funny, and I did not expect to see Randy Quaid in a dress, so that was really weird. And there was just undeniable chemistry between Charles Bronson and Jill Ireland's characters. You know, it's like she was married and she was trying to help her husband, and he was trying to help her husband, but it's like you could still tell that there was something between them in the story, but it's like I think that their chemistry in real life probably helped that undertone in this movie for sure. I think that they starred in 15 movies together, so here are 2 of them. I talked about some in the past that you can look through my videos and find other Charles Bronson flicks for sure, but many thanks to Kino Lorber for sending both of these to me for review. Check out how these spines look together. I love Kino Lorber slipcovers that they put out. They are just beautiful. All their spines are so sleek, are they not? Just very attractive. So that'll do it. Let me know what you think of these. Have you picked them up? Are you going to in the future? You know, let me know what you think of these if you have seen them. If you are looking to get into Charles Bronson flicks, you haven't seen a lot of them, aside from Death Wish, obviously, which I feel like everybody knows him for, Paul Kersey. The first flicks that I think that you should watch of Charles Bronson's would be Mr. Majestic and The Mechanic, maybe then 10 to Midnight. These are up there. Violent City, I feel like, is probably right after that. So these are both amazing flicks. You can't go wrong with either one of them. I need to check out the 15 movies that he was in with Jill Ireland because I have loved all of them so far and I need to find the rest of them. So, you know, thanks to Kino Lorber for keeping Charles Bronson's legacy alive in the form of glorious high-definition disc. Thanks for joining me in my yard talking about Charles Bronson. And if you were able to hear any of this at all, maybe I will do another Creekside video in the future if this worked out. So I guess we'll find out together, huh? Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.